Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the March 13th, 2024 CVTA Finance Committee meeting. My name, for those who may be watching at home, my name is Kevin Curl. I'm the chair. Please join me. We're going to do something different. We're going to say the Pledge of Allegiance this morning, which is not on the agenda. Please join me this time. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Please be seated. Ms. Firestone, can you certify, Scott, can you certify a quorum?
Yes, sir.
Sorry. Old habit.
Chesterfield County, Chair Carroll.
Here.
Henrico County, Vice Chair Nelson.
Here.
Newgate County, Mr. Moyer.
Here.
Powhatan County, Mr. McClung.
Here.
City of Richmond, Ms. Nye. Here. And Commonwealth Transportation Board, Mr. Davis.
Here.
Thank you. That concludes the roll call for attendance. We do have a quorum.
Okay, thank you. We do not have anybody wishing to participate remotely, right?
We do not.
Okay, good. So we don't need to do that. The agenda before us, I think there's one minor adjustment to that. Chet, if you can go over that.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chair. On page 20 and 21, the agenda was put out prior to the technical committee meeting 2 days ago on Monday. Pages 20 and 21 in your packet, in the printed packet, has been swapped out. There's a substitute insertion there that have two highlighted sections. Just asking for that to be accepted as an update to the agenda.
Thank you, sir. Do I have a motion to approve the amended agenda?
So moved.
Motion's made. Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion's made and seconded to approve the amended agenda. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Agenda's approved. Thank you. The next item is the approval of the February the 14th meeting minutes, which are included in the packet. Does anybody have any questions on the meeting minutes that are in the packet? If not, I entertain a motion to approve the meeting minutes from February the 14th.
So moved.
Most made and seconded. Proper motion, proper second. Any discussion on the motion? Not seeing or hearing any discussion on the motion. All those in favor of approval of the minutes, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Ayes have it. This time we have open public comment. Do you have a statement you want to read on that?
Yes, sir.
Okay. The open public comment period is an opportunity for people who are here in person or either online who would like to address the CVTA. Do I have anybody in the audience today who would like to address the CVTA? Finance Committee meeting. Not seeing anyone coming forward. Is there anyone online? Nope.
I haven't received any requests, sorry.
Okay, no requests online. That being said, we will close the public comment period, and we are now before the Finance Committee Chair's report. Just happy to be here in person. That's my report today. Thank you. CVTA activities report, the monthly investment report. Mr. Park.
Yes, sir, thank you. Page 8 is the January monthly investment report. And I would just highlight that for FY 2024, the team at Chesterfield is continuing to do a great job with tracking our short-term investments. The direction that we've been moving in, I sound like a broken record, but month over month, we're seeing that the interest earnings continue to grow. We are making a concerted effort to reinvest funds that are available to the CVTA that have not been expended and don't expect to be encumbered by approved projects over the next 6 to 12 months. We continue to work closely with our staff with Chesterfield County Treasurer's Office to make sure that those funds are reinvested, and as you can see at the top of page 9, our portfolio outperformed all of the yield benchmarks and 3 out of the 4 year-over-year benchmarks for the month of January. So inflation continues to keep those short-term yields high, and as you can see, we're now over $7 million in interest earnings for FY24, which is outstanding.
Oh, it's amazing.
Yeah,
Absolutely amazing.
So happy to take any questions. Ms. Longacre is is not here, but she is watching, so if there's any requests or considerations that you'd like me to pass along, I'm happy to do that.
Members, any comments? Well, I will pass along that I continue to be impressed with the investment strategy that they put in place for us. That's just an unbelievable number for 1 year, quite frankly. Moving on in the next part is Clark. TAC activities report, I believe so. Welcome.
Good morning, welcome. Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the Finance Committee. Diana Moore Clark here, the City of Richmond Representative, TAC, CVTA TAC Chair. The CVTA Technical Advisory Committee, TAC, met on Monday, March 11th, 2024 at 1 p.m. via Zoom. During that meeting, we kept with the motion of regional prioritization. What we did was, one, we talked and approved the revised allocation plan that you have on pages 20 and 21. And that really is putting in each of the projects that were awarded and showing where they would need funds over through from previous funding cycles through FY31. And again, TAC did recommend that for approval. And so we would appreciate your recommendation for approval as well. We then move forward with our regional framework parking lot list. So as we know, with the regional prioritization framework and the process for utilizing regional funds, we have this framework document and we review it every year. So we have parking lot items on that list that we've kind of seen throughout round 2 and round 3, and we're always looking to improve. We really had a good conversation about how currently the framework really goes by the code and saying you must do cost benefit, and it really doesn't take into account things such as project readiness, regional benefit. And when we say that, that's kind of looking at it from a benefit cost model, not that the project itself isn't of regional importance, but really what is that resounding, improvement in economics going throughout the region? What does that project create? And what does it do for that locality? But we still hit a road bump because we think that currently the framework allows for flexibility for the CVTA regional members, and we think that the authority should be providing the guidance on what their priorities are at any given round or cycle of the funding. So as we know, members could change, and we take this whole thing and everything is, we're going for sustainability. We only want projects that do sustainability. And so again, if the framework doesn't allow for that, then it's like going back and undoing things. So we wanted to keep that flexibility, but we still are going to be working through those items to see what is it that we can provide so that we don't have so much difficulties when it comes to presenting those scenarios to you and really making sure we can get it right when we present it to the authority members for recommendation for funding. And so with that, we also talked about how we would potentially start to address the deobligation process. So we've asked, and that process is, again, letting the localities know that the money that was used for leverage, if it was not successfully used after the 2 cycles, which the framework allows, and you have not reapplied, then that money is CVTA's and not that of the localities. And so with that, again, each of projects that have cycles get leveraging dollars, and that locality has a number of attempts and ways that it can try to keep those leveraging dollars. But in any case, as we look into already utilizing funds through FY31, what are some available dollars that we have through that framework? And so again, it may not be called a deobligation process. Lack of better words, I name it that because that's what it feels like when you're actually going to say, hey, you don't have that money anymore. And so, we're starting to touch on that, and so we hope to be able to provide. I think what we're doing now is getting a list of all the projects with their money ending, so we can kind of get the amount and the range of what are those available dollars would be for the authority in any case that they would come back because they were unsuccessful in a leveraging attempt. So we are looking at that, and hopefully we'll have some more details and guidance that we can share with this committee. We talked about the regional funding application cycle. So again, we thought that reviewing the regional allocation was a little rushed. So we put in, under the direction of the executive director, 2 additional months into the cycle. And we also talked and touched on what we talk about in mid-cycle project review. So is it on budget still? What does it look like? And then that process of how do we address somebody does need more money in the mid-cycle. So we're really just touching on it, but we hope to kind of talk through it in the next few months to really see how we can make that work. And then finally, we talked about just bringing on a bench for, I think through Plan RVA that CVTA can use in cases when it's talking about third-party estimate reviews, and potentially even doing that mid-cycle review to really just give the authority a good sense of a third party has looked at this and making some of the recommendations. And with that, we concluded our meeting, and that concludes my report, and I can take any questions.
Members, any questions? Seeing none, I just want to say thank you very much for all the hard work that the TAC does. It's crucial for what this organization does. Y'all do a lot of the heavy lifting, especially that 3-hour meeting that y'all had recently to really make all the adjustments. So just want to say thank you again.
You're welcome. Thank you to our other members that are present today.
Absolutely. I know everybody works together very hard. And I know in that last meeting, quite frankly, there was a lot of give and take in the region for regional cooperation. It was really spectacular. So thank you.
Thank you.
Next would be the financial policies and procedures update. Mr. Parsons.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Chair. We're looking at page 10 in the agenda packet. As you recall, this is something that the Finance Committee considered over a year ago in terms of possible updates to the financial policies and procedures related specifically to the regional fund and the establishment of a reserve that would be helpful to the actions of the authority when the issuance of bonds is considered. This is something that PFM brought to the table, like I said, over a year ago. Now that round 3 has passed and we are moving into the next time period of life for the authority, there may be a good opportunity right now to make those adjustments to the financial policies and procedures. In addition to the language specific to the regional revenue, in cooperation with legal counsel, we've gone through and made updates that reflect a switch from a CVTA administrator to the executive director. That language was not in there originally because it didn't exist. So what we have in front of you is a red line copy of all of the recommended changes. For the most part, they're very minor in terms of naming staff and responsibilities. I would ask, I'll address the regional revenue section in a second, but I would ask Mr. Gregory for the correct language for what is now on page 11 of the agenda packet under general guidelines, letter F.
Mr. Chairman, thank you, Mr. Parsons. Under section 2F, it's just reversing the phrasing there. The red line says for the ensuing fiscal year prior to its commencements. I would just recommend we switch that around to just, so it would read annual budget prior to the commencement of the ensuing fiscal year. That just gives some flexibility. The prior language was requiring the planning and budgeting process to be resolved by May 15th of each year for the ensuing fiscal year, and this just gives a little bit more flexibility for that process.
So the language is gonna change from what we have in here right now?
Just in terms of flipping the clause,
Okay.
prior to the commencement of the ensuing fiscal year, says the same thing.
Yep, just flipped it.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Gregory.
Thank you.
I would bring everybody's attention next to page 14. I guess the first item under local distribution, 1F, is that based on our experience now, we know that it is not, it has not been practical to expect certification from each jurisdiction by August 1st of each year. So just making sure that that is reflected in the policies and procedures now to show September 15th. I think in our experience, that's been enough time to get it back in front of boards and county administrators to make sure that those signatures can be applied. Under regional revenue, this is the language that was suggested and recommended by PFM earlier, and I'll just read through the change. Fund and maintain a working capital reserve equal to at least 3 months of the budgeted annual regional CVTA funds. If tapped, the chief financial staff of the CVTA will develop a plan to restore the working capital reserve to its minimum level over a period not to exceed 18 months. The authority will revisit the level of this reserve no later than June 30th, 2025 to reflect its actual cash flow patterns and expenditure reimbursements. And then the next paragraph after that, item 2, fund cost of issuance and other debt-related fees and services and debt service payments undertaken by the CVTA. And then the new language, if CVTA decides to debt fund projects, the ratio of sales tax revenues portion of the annual regional CVTA funds to annual senior lien debt service will be a minimum of 2.0 times. Other notable suggested changes are right below that under responsibilities. Oh, actually, no. I will say that the standard project agreement language, the same section, item B, we did add, previously it was VDOT in CVTA. Now we have SPAs with localities in CVTA. So just reflecting that change, that update is noted there. And then I believe that is the extent of the changes other than those administrative updates in terms of naming responsibilities. We did have some discussion at the TAC level with the TAC chair about requirements for changes to our guidance documents. There are no requirements for multiple readings or public hearing to change this financial policies and procedures. That does apply to the bylaws, but not to the non-binding governance documents, which this falls under. So the action requested today is for the Finance Committee to recommend the full authority to make these changes, make these updates to the financial policies and procedures so that we can position ourselves for action on possible bond issuance and other things and reflect the current state of the authority.
Members, any questions?
Mr. Chairman, I do have one question about on the regional revenue. I guess the change there where it talks about if tapped, the chief financial staff of the CVTA. Is tapped is that a common phraseology? And maybe
It's a little bit lingo,
Yes.
sort of slang.
Okay, I don't know if it's accessed or drawn upon.
Why don't we change that to drawn upon?
Okay, yeah, that sounds better. Yeah. Yeah. Thank you.
Even if you put, even if requested, something to that effect would be fine. The other question, thank you, I had a question about it as well, as to, we're gonna end up having to change this again after June 30th of 2025, because we're putting in there a specific date on this. So my question is, do we have to have a specific date if we have, if we're putting in 18 months in, or we're just gonna have to revisit again on June, when it expires on this date?
Mr. Chair, I think that the intent was to have a set period of time for, assuming that bonds are issued,
Okay.
have a set period of time to evaluate whether the reserve is of sufficient quantity to provide that level of comfort. But I
I have no problem with having a hard date in it to make sure it comes back before us.
Right.
If that's what we choose to do. At least ensures that we have to consider it, but, at that time.
Mr. Roddy may have.
Yeah, I think the intent is just to make sure it's properly sized, so, we're gonna be regularly looking at that. The 3 months is the initial recommendation, it could end up being 2 months. We wanna make sure that you're properly cushioned, and I think the intent was just to say that we are looking at it, so if there's a better way to say, that this will be, looked at least every 2 years or something, just so we make sure that there's a procedure in there to annually or regularly review it.
Okay. Members, any other questions? So if anybody doesn't have any other questions, I think the action here is to move this forward to the full CVTA for full consideration, so I would look for a motion for that.
So moved.
Motion's made, do I have a second?
Second.
Motion's made and properly seconded. The only thing I would say on the discussion, if we do approve the motion to move this forward, my request would be that this information gets sent out to all the CVTA members for consideration prior to just, as soon as possible. I don't want them to get it, in the packet that day and say, I gotta review this. So I would want this information sent out so that the members have an opportunity to review it, plenty of time, and ask questions or prepare questions for consideration on the day. That would be my only request. Motion's made and properly seconded. Any other discussion on the motion?
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
just clarifying that Mr. Davis's wording change was reflected in that motion.
And the other one
And
too, as amended, as Mr. Gregor.
So we would say the motion, would you be amenable, Mr. Nelson, to to change your motion to as amended? And seconded as well? All right. So the motion is to approve the financial policies and procedures changes as amended, properly seconded. Not seeing any other discussion. All those in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Ayes carried. This will be forwarded to the full CVTA for consideration and sent out to the membership so they can have it to review. Thank you. Next on the agenda is administrative operating budget. Mr. Parsons.
yes, sir, this is a request to revise the existing FY24 operating budget to reflect, more accurately reflect expenditures in the current fiscal year. Starting on page 18, I guess this is a good time to share that we are now, in terms of CVTA staff time, going to be getting more direct services from Diane Fusco, who you may be familiar with from the Plan RVA side. She's going to be providing direct support to me in terms of financial reporting, budgeting, and also assisting with reimbursement requests. So this is kind of a first look at some of the deeper dive that she's going to be doing in terms of our budget. So page 18 is kind of a cover sheet showing a summary of where things stand with our budget at this time. Starting at the top, we've divided the budget into 4 major categories: personnel, professional services, technology and communications, and administration. The 3 columns in the table, the left-hand column is our adopted budget. The middle column is our revised budget. That's what's in front of you today for consideration. And then the budget change shows the shift in funds in either a positive or a negative direction. It all zeroes out. The budget is not increasing. We're just making the request to shift funds to the more pertinent line items.
I think page 19, that I think most everybody's opened up, which is the first page on the expansion, kind of shows the changes and why they're doing it. You want to just...
Sure, I can go directly there, yes, sir. So the budget, the revised budget, you can see there, I would note that, as I said, the budget is not changing overall, so the sum at the bottom, please don't be surprised by that. That number is an accounting error in summing that column. The budget is still 831,720. And what we are doing is requesting some shifts to reflect current practices, where our priorities have been realized for this fiscal year, and also to reflect the I don't know what the right term is, Mr. Gregor, the operating agreement with Plan RVA that CVTA operates under. This budget, the line items and everything, the structure of the budget was set up when the CVTA was first created, with expectations for, bank fees, telecommunications expenses, printing, copying, production. All of those things are captured under the agreement with Plan RVA. So we do not need those line items. So the request today is to move the funds from those line items into more immediate needs, which primarily consist of our financial advising and contracted services. That's where the bulk of the funds have been shifted to for FY24. And that reflects expenses in regards to our preparation for the confidential ratings review that we held earlier this year. Our payment to the third-party cost estimate reviewer, the engineering firm that we contracted with, as well as payment to the consultant that is assisting the Fall Line Work Group with developing the wayfinding plan that the authority had previously authorized. The request today, again, in front of you is not to change the budget to grow or shrink it. It is simply to shift funds around to better reflect where we are at this current time for the remaining 3 months of the year, 4 months of the year. We expect to have a draft FY25 budget ready probably for your review next month at your meeting then. And it'll follow, assuming we have a positive recommendation today, it'll follow the same type of structure, revised structure that we're asking for under the FY24 revised budget.
Thank you. Members, any questions? Mr. Parsons, I guess my one question is, I see the difference in financial advisors. Do we, we initially budgeted 25,000 for that, and we look at it, it's now 82,000. Do we expect that number to continue to be 82,000 every year, or what's going to be a proper number for us to budget for that?
I think we're going to, as we develop the draft FY25 budget, I'll definitely consult with Mr. Roddy and his team. That number, for this year at least, reflected a significant amount of time added for the informal rating review.
Yep.
So
Which is why it may
adjust.
be lower next year, because we're not going to have the same level, perhaps. So we'll just see what it looks like.
Yes, sir.
That's correct.
Yep. Members, any questions? So I would entertain a motion to approve these changes to move it forward to the full CVTA for consideration.
So moved.
Motion's made. Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion's made and properly seconded to move this forward to the full CVTA for consideration. I would make the same request, Mr. Parsons, that this information be sent out as soon as possible for the members to have to review. Perhaps you can even write a summary to send with it of an explanation. It may make it even easier for the members as we move forward. Motion's made proper and second. Any other further discussion? Not seeing or hearing any. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Does it require a roll call for this?
It wouldn't hurt.
Well, we'll do a roll call. Go ahead.
Chair Carroll.
Aye.
Mr. McClung.
Aye.
Mr. Moyer.
Aye.
Mr. Nelson?
Aye.
Ms. Nye?
Aye.
And Mr. Davis?
Aye.
Thank you. That motion carries.
Thank you. Bond counsel, Mr. Parsons.
Yes, sir. Item 9 in the agenda packet. This is just a chance for the Finance Committee to be introduced to our bond counsel. I'd like to introduce Megan Gilliland and Ben Willis to just provide a few remarks. Thank you again to the Finance Committee for shepherding this process through, and we're excited about working with Megan and her team.
Good morning.
Good morning, welcome.
Thank you. As Mr. Parsons mentioned, my name is Megan Gilliland. My colleague Ben Wills. We work with the firm Kaufman and Knowles. Along with our colleague Eric Blue, we lead the public finance team at the firm. Kaufman and Knowles is based in Virginia, offices in Tidewater and Richmond, which is where Mr. Wills, Mr. Blue, and I are located. Roughly an 100 attorney firm, just celebrated our 100th anniversary, so been around for a while. Our public finance group has a variety of bond counsel, underwriter counsel engagements that we do for state level entities, Treasury Board, the Public Building Authority, regional entities such as the Hampton Roads Transportation Accountability Commission, as you all perhaps have heard of before. We do their bond counsel work. And also local entities throughout the Commonwealth. So we have a wide variety of clients. We see a variety of general governmental, perhaps transportation-focused projects on our sort of background. We work very closely with Mr. Roddy and his team on a variety of those engagements, so we know PFM well. And we're excited to work with CVTA. So I'm happy to answer any questions or talk further about our background if you'd like.
Members, any questions? I think Ms. told us everything.
All right, very good. That was easy.
Well, I do believe that the package that you all submitted when you put in for the bid was very comprehensive
Great, thank you.
and very informative to us and to our full membership, which is why you ended up getting the contract. So thank you very much. We look forward to working with you in the future. And certainly if we have any questions, I do think it's important to make sure that all of the members have your contact information. Certainly they can go through Mr. Parsons to get a hold of you if they have any questions, but thank you very much.
Absolutely. Looking forward to working with you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, revised allocation plan, round 3 impact, Mr. Parsons.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This was the item that was amended when the agenda was approved earlier in the agenda. But I think that Ms. Clark hit on this. TAC discussed this allocations plan at its meeting on Monday. We're looking at page 20 and 21, and it actually does not have a number because it was inserted late. But what it shows is through the life of the authority, these are all of the projects that have received a commitment of regional funds from round 1 all the way through round 3 now. Starting from left to right, very easy. We have a CVTA identifier. So these are the numbers that are signified in the standard project agreements. For example, if you look at the first item there, Fall Line Trail Design Build 2, that is project CVTA-0001. That is our reference. Moving from left to right, you will see a total cost estimate, any other funds that have been committed to a project, previous commitments, and then kind of the focus of the allocations plan, this document is we now show from FY25 all the way through FY31 when those funds will reasonably be expected to be tied up. And that information comes from consultation with the member jurisdictions, from the applications that were submitted for regional funds. This information was required as part of that application package. And then to the right-hand side, the total CVTA commitment is in bold. The balance to complete from any project is shown, and then any notes to highlight. One thing to show on that notes column, anytime you see something bolded, That is an adjustment from the last time this allocations plan was acted upon by the authority, which was actually December of 2022. So most of these adjustments, you will see that the project start for some projects was moved to FY '26 to match the smart scale, this round 6 round of smart scale applications, so that it's better able to leverage those competitive applications. What we are looking at today is essentially let's see what the action is.
Information only.
It's an information item, that's right. We are prepared to ask for your review and consideration of this. The two highlighted sections, the yellow highlights, was a direct outcome of Monday's TAC meeting. The city of Richmond had requested an accelerated focus for the downtown transit hub, which is actually the last project on the second page of this, for the funding to move from FY 2031 to an earlier year. And to accommodate that, funding from the CVTA-0003 Commerce Road Fall Line Trail Phase 2 was adjusted to a later year. So that adjustment was able to be accommodated within City of Richmond awards. So again, this is the allocations plan as it currently exists is in front of you, and I think between myself and Ms. Clark, we can address any questions you might have at this time.
Members, any questions? I guess what I would say, Chet, is that if we are making changes to the plan, I do think it probably, I'll ask legal counsel, but doesn't it require just moving it forward to the full CVTA for approval of the changes to the plan? I don't want to, I think Richmond is moving money around, which I think is great, and I don't want them to have any issues with the ability to do that. So if we need to move this forward, I think now's the time would be appropriate for us to do a roll call vote to approve this forward to the full CVTA for consideration, but I'll ask legal counsel about that.
That would be a proper item for oversight, sir.
Good.
Mr. Chair.
Yes, Mr. Barr.
In addition, I would highlight that in addition to the change made requested by the City of Richmond, it also includes all of the round 3 awards,
Yes,
which were not there prior, so,
then
yes.
it definitely needs to be moved
Substantial
forward
changes.
for consideration, since it's a substantial change to the initial approval. Members, do you have any questions about that? We have a motion to move this forward to the full committee for consideration.
So moved.
Motion's made, do I have a second?
Second.
Motion's made and properly seconded. Any further discussion on the motion? Motion's to move this forward to the full CVTA for full consideration at our next meeting. Again, I would request that the information be sent out in a timely fashion for the members to have to review. All those in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Ayes carry. Thank you. Getting a lot done today. SPA status update.
Yes, sir. So this is page 22 of your agenda packet. Again, another great summary table that I'm not going to take credit for. Mr. Bushing assisted with putting this together, but it shows a lot of great information that I think you can take home and review. But it has a summary of all of the existing funding commitments. So that's page 22, 23. Inflation adjustments, allocations to balance entry, essentially all of the things that the CVTA has committed to for regional funding. Page 24 has new funding commitments, so that's the round 3 projects. The purpose of this today is to highlight the current status of having fully executed standard project agreements. If you look at the 5th column from the right on this table, you can see a column of check marks under the heading SPA. This is to signify that there is a standard project agreement in place for this project. The date that it was fully executed or partially executed in some cases, And then any attempts to use it for leverage, we have, as Mr. Clark mentioned earlier, there's two possible attempts for leveraging funds. The highlight here, I think, to note is any place that there is not a check mark under SPA. That means that the project has not been initiated. CVTA has not received from the sponsoring jurisdiction the proper executed agreement so that the reimbursement process can begin. So in our eyes, these projects have not yet begun. That is not the case, obviously. There's lots of action, most likely at the local level. But these are the projects where Ms. Clark mentioned earlier, where we could be considering de-obligating, for lack of a better term, funds when there is not a SPA in place. Once the agreement's there, in my mind, and I think in legal counsel's mind, that the project is locked in and is moving forward. But until we have those agreements, we're not there. So I think this is a good place to possibly use for review and update on where those projects are in the timeline at the local level and what we can do to help support that.
I certainly think it's a great reminder to all of us that, who have submitted these projects, that if we're in a position that we can get the SPA agreement executed and submitted so that we can sign off on it, it's actually a very good idea. So it's a good reminder, and so this is, make sure, obviously we're gonna make sure that all of the localities have this information to review. So, that's a good update. Any members, any questions on the SPA update? I would tell you that, as chair, those updates get sent to me, online. Those are the ones I've been signing off on, right?
The reimbursement?
Yep, yes, sir. Yep, reimbursement requests, so they electronically get sent. And then as I get them, I sign off on them, to process them through. So I think I had one last week, actually. All right, any other business, members? Yes, sir.
Carol, I got one announcement. On Wednesday, April 3rd, the Patricia A. Page sign will be dedicated at the eastbound rest area at 12 noon. So anybody that's thinking about coming out, so it's, the eastbound rest area is basically around exit 215 of 64. And so the gap will have a sign on each side of the county for Patricia Page. Also, there, as we've seen, there's also a sign already that says funding has been contributed by CVTA, VDOT, and I forget what the other one is.
Has your staff put anything out in the form of a press release or anything on that yet?
I believe that's happening today. That's what Rodney was talking about.
So as they do that, Chet, can you make sure that that gets shared with all the CVTA members so that everybody knows what it is and have an opportunity if they get it on the calendar?
Thank you very much.
Send it as a placeholder as well as you can, so that members have an opportunity to put it on their calendar to attend. Thank you for bringing that up.
Mr., what's the date again?
April 3rd, noon, at the eastbound rest area on I-64. Pretty much the middle of the gap. It happens to be.
Members, anything else? Yes, ma'am.
Diarna here. I did want to make a note, through the mayor and the city, he did request that if we would get a press release out for the entire project list as well for the round 3. I don't think we've done that yet, have we? Okay.
Do that.
It
Great
just reminded me when he brought that up.
suggestion. Great suggestion.
Thank you.
Members, anything else? Just want to say, from a personal standpoint, glad to be here in person. Think I'm on the mend and hope to be able to come to these meetings in person from now on. Appreciate the indulgence of the members for allowing me to attend the previous meetings in, remotely. I do, as a reminder, the transportation forum, Chet, if you want to just give them an update on that, which is Friday, I believe.
Yes, Yes, Friday morning, I believe,
7:45.
yes, refreshments and networking at 7:45. I think it's supposed to be over by 10 o'clock. It's gonna be fun. I mean, it's at the Main Street Station. There's actually gonna be some hands-on activities and opportunities for everybody to take part in the planning for the region. So, please attend if you haven't already RSVP'd and would like more information. I think probably Janice would be the best contact, or let me know after the meeting.
Just email me, the registration is closed because we're full, but we have room for all our board and authority members.
Super. Members, anything else? Imagine this, we're getting out of here in under an hour. Members have nothing else, this committee stands adjourned. The next meeting is April the 10th, 2024, right here. Thank you, everybody.
When is the regular board?
29th, I believe.